himself? Ben had been about to enter the law offices when he saw the tiny convertible wedge itself into the space next to his Hummer. Before he could get the attention of the woman inside the car, she was already climbing over the gear shift. He waved as he approached and hesitated when she noticed him outside the passenger window. The daggers coming from the woman's dark, coffee-colored eyes gave him a chill, despite the uncharacteristically mild weather. He'd seen pissed-off women before, but usually after he'd slept with them, not before. "Sorry about the parking. This thing is a little big," he yelled. He'd signed an endorsement deal with GM years before, and he was under contract obligation to drive the beast. He'd asked for a truck, but they'd insisted the Hummer better suited his image. "Just give me a second and I'll move it." The woman opened the door, pushing through tree branches. "Don't bother. You'll be leaving before me," she said, climbing out, ducking to avoid the pointed twigs and leaves. "Can I help you with your things?" he asked, as she bent to retrieve her briefcase and a stack of file folders. Out of habit, his eyes shifted to the long, shapely legs and sexy ankles, and he had to remind himself why he was there. His weakness for hot women had landed him in enough trouble. "I got it, thanks," she said tightly, avoiding his gaze as she struggled to close the door. She was taller than he'd expected, her 3-inch heels putting her head just below the line of his jaw. The perfect height to kiss. The perfect lips, too. The full, pale nude glossed mouth would be incredibly tempting. Under different circumstances. She cleared her throat loudly, and his stare snapped back to hers. "Excuse me," she said, moving past him. As she did, her long, dark hair snagged on a tree branch, yanking her backward. Her eyes widened and her cheeks flamed with embarrassment. "Hold on, just stay still. Don't make it worse," he said, stepping forward. "Don't," she said quickly. "I got it." He held his hands up. "Sorry, just trying to help. If you'd parked in a space that could accommodate your vehicle, I wouldn't be stuck in a tree in the first place," she said, readjusting her files in one arm as she reached back with her hand to free her hair. "I offered to move it." He folded his arms and continued to watch her fumbling. "You're making it worse." She shot him a look, then, not having any success, she sighed. "Fine." "Fine what?" "You can help," she said through clenched teeth. He was tempted to say his offer had expired, but this was technically his fault. "Okay, hold still." Trying to avoid the scratchy tree branches poking him, he stood in front of her and reached around. As predicted, the top of her head fit nicely under his chin. His chest brushed against hers, but he kept his focus on the tangled hair, relying on every ounce of gentlemanly manners not to sneak a peek down her blouse. The smell of her jasmine-scented shampoo competed with the cherry blossoms, and he held his breath as he untwisted the strands from the tree. Delicious, intoxicating-smelling women were another of his weaknesses. Her hair was thick and soft, and the natural golden highlights reflected the sun. He resisted the urge to let the locks run through his fingers as he unwrapped them from their snag on the twigs. She was perfectly still, her eyes staring straight at his chest, her breath warm against his neck as he worked. He could hear the dull throbbing of a heartbeat, but he couldn't be sure if it was his or hers. The close proximity made him suddenly uncomfortable, and after freeing the last of her locks, he moved away quickly. "There." "Thank you," she mumbled, but it sounded more begrudging than grateful. Avoiding his gaze, she smoothed the hair back in place and stepped around him. He rushed to match her pace as she headed toward the building. "Do we know each other?" She looked familiar, and the knot in his stomach had him questioning whether he'd had the pleasure of meeting her before. It might explain the way she was acting. "Not yet," she said. At the office doors, she reached for the handle, but he stepped quicker. Holding it open, he gestured for her to enter. "After you." She sighed as she went inside. "Look, I apologized about the Hummer." "It's fine." She hit the button for the elevator.